top corner is my institute, and on below that it's our administrative building, and it is our location. We are in the last part of Maharashtra. We are close to Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. So let me begin with the term rhizobacteria. Rhizobacteria are the bacteria which are found present in the rhizosphere. As you know, rhizosphere is the area of soil surrounding the roots. These rhizobacteria are known by different names such as plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, yield increasing bacteria, agriculturally important microorganisms, and these were first named as PGPR, plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, by Joseph Cloper of Auburn University in 1987, sorry. So what is the necessity of using this rhizobacteria? See, if we look at the agriculture productivity, this agriculture productivity is decreasing day by day due to decrease in the cultivable land, as well as due to the various types of diseases caused by more than 60 different types of microbial pathogens. These diseases leads not only in the loss of crop, but also causes loss of important micronutrients from the crop, making crops staple deficient in the specific nutrients. And the most important one is the loss of iron from the crop due to the various diseases caused by phytopathogens. And these consumption of staple crop deficient in the iron has been one of the principal reason of iron deficiency anemia in various parts of the country. So how to increase the agriculture productivity? Traditionally, there are various options. Say, for example, the use of chemical fertilizers and various types of chemical pesticides, fungicides or insecticides. But as you know that the chemical option is not eco-friendly option. It damages the health of soil. It deteriorates the useful microflora. It causes soil pollution, and later on the addition of pesticides into the water, and it also adds the heavy metals to the soil, because most of the chemical pesticides, they are having heavy metal composition, and if we add the pesticides, there will be ultimate addition of heavy metals in the soil, and these heavy metals are then magnified by a process of biomagnification, and it causes various types of health hazards. So this is the list of various types of plant diseases which are caused by microbial pathogens. And these are a few of the pictures of leaf spot of groundnut caused by Cercospora fungus and Aspergillus flavus, which results in the formation of aflatoxin. And this is the rust of wheat, which is caused by rhizoctonia. And these are some fungal diseases of vegetables, some viral diseases of fruits. So the use of these chemical pesticides or chemical fertilizers is, as I mentioned, is not eco-friendly option. It leads to the development of pesticide resistance in the pest, so that every time a resistant pathogen will emerge, and one has to develop a more powerful, more potent pesticides. So this is going to be a chain of sequence where the resistance will go on increasing and increasing, and one has to use the more powerful and more potent pesticides. The use of these chemical pesticides causes addition of heavy metal ions in the soil. It contaminates the soil. These pesticides are harmful to the microorganisms of the soil, which otherwise are very useful for the health of crop, for the health of soil. So with the use of these pesticides, most of the useful soil microflora is destroyed, These pesticides are costly and they are required in large doses, and they are even if they are used in the large doses, their effectivity is very less. So since they are non-living, their application has to be repeated every season or every 4 months or every 3 months. They are non-specific to their targets, and some of these, or you can say many of these chemical pesticides are recalcitrants. That is, they remain in the environment for years together. They are not destroyed because there are very few pathogens which are known to degrade these synthetic chemicals. So then, how to boost the plant growth and how to control the plant diseases? There are options like crop rotation, tillage, change in planting date, but these traditional options appears to be less effective, and the most effective approach is to use the soil microorganisms, particularly plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, because these bacteria are sustainable, they are eco-friendly, and they are having a multifarious potential. They are responsible for promoting plant growth, as well as they are responsible for controlling the phytopathogens, that is biocontrol, and they are also responsible for chelating the various heavy metal ions which are added due to the continuous and liberal use of chemical pesticides. So there are multifold benefits of using these PGPR, and these PGPR appears to be the best option for the plant growth promotion, for biocontrol of plant diseases, and for removing the heavy metal ions from the soil. Remove to the chemical solution is effective. It's going to add some chemicals in the soil, and our approach is not to add the chemicals in the soil, but to remove the harmful substances, harmful chemicals from the soil. So in that context, excuse me, in that context, PGPR, plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, appears to be the best and sustainable. Now, how this PGPR is the best and sustainable approach? These PGPR are microorganisms from the soil, so they are safe. They do not lead to the biomagnification. They are self-replicating. They can divide themselves, and there is no need to repeat their doses or repeated applications, and there will be no development of resistance in the pathogen. They have multi-fold mechanisms: plant growth promotion, biocontrol, and bioremediation. They are target specific, they are broad spectrum, they can kill many pathogens, they are more effective in small doses. So if you compare with the chemical pesticides are not broad spectrum, they are very narrow spectrum. A specific pesticide has to be used for a specific pest or a specific pathogen, and it is to be used in the more doses. But these PGPR, they are broad spectrum, they are having potential of inhibiting wide variety of pathogens, and they are effective in small doses. They are self-replicating, so they are economical, as it will save the repetition of doses, and their use is certainly expected to reduce the chemical inputs in the agriculture. So if we see the mechanism of the action of this PGPR, you will see that these PGPR are responsible for nitrogen fixation. We all know that there are nitrogen fixing bacteria, symbiotic as well as non-symbiotic bacteria, and they are responsible for increasing or for providing nitrogen nutrition to the plants. These PGPR also produce hydrophores. I'll come to know in the next slides about these hydrophores and other parts. They are also responsible for the mineral nutrition like solubilization of phosphate, solubilization of sulfur, solubilization of potassium, and solubilization of other minerals. In addition, they are responsible for producing phytohormones, the hormones which are required for the growth of plant. And the important phytohormones produced by these rhizobacteria includes the indole acetic acid, gibberellins, and other hormones. The another mechanism, if you see, it is the production of various antimicrobial substances which causes antibiosis. These organism creates a sort of competition in the rhizosphere so that the other organisms will be killed and only useful microorganisms will survive. These organisms are also responsible for producing a wide variety of hydrolytic enzymes. So, for example, chitinase, which will break down the chitin cell wall of the fungus. They are responsible for the production of various types of proteases, and that will break down the protein component of the cell wall of fat pathogen. The siderophore has dual role. It provides iron nutrition as well as the siderophore. They will chelate the iron from the soil so that this iron will not be available to the pathogens, and due to deficiency of iron, the pathogens will be killed. These organisms, PGPR, are also responsible for increasing the systemic resistance, that is induced systemic resistance and systemic acquired resistance in the plant, so that plant will become more resistant to the pathogen. So these are the probable mechanisms, and this is how the PGPR will chelate the iron from the environment. This PGPR in the rhizosphere will chelate this iron, and this iron will not be available to the pathogen, phytopathogen, and due to deficiency of iron, the growth of pathogen will be inhibited. As you know that this iron is important part of many enzymes, many proteins, and it is one of the important element in the metabolism of organism. So if the iron is not provided, if iron is nutrition is not made available to the pathogen, the growth of pathogen will be inhibited. So this is the competition for iron through the production of siderophore by PGPR. And what we did in our research, we screened the soil microorganisms from various agricultural fields, and we look for various biocontrol traits like siderophores, hydrogen cyanide, hydrolytic enzymes like chitinase, cellulase, and protease. So these are the some results of screening for siderophore. We obtained various isolates which were able to produce siderophore. The different pigmentations, different colors is due to the different types of siderophores produced by these organisms. And this is how one will come to know, or how one will screen that whether the organism is producing siderophore or not. So simply what you need to do, you need to prepare a agar plate. That nutrient agar plate has to be cut into the two halves. The half portion will be having nutrient agar, and in the remaining portion we have to add chrome azurol sulfonate. This chrome azurol sulfonate is initially blue in color. It is the dye which is blue in color. If the organism is producing, see here it is the control. The organism has produced siderophore, and this siderophore has chelated the ion of these chrome azurol sulfonate. So due to the chelation, due to the removal of this chrome azurol sulfonate, this dye will be will change its color into maybe into yellow, maybe into pink, maybe into orange, or maybe into red. That depends on the type of siderophore. So you see that here the this part, blue part, is control, and here this part is due to the siderophore production. The color of this portion is changed. The color of cast is changed to the orange one. It is due to the removal of iron, and removal of iron is due to the siderophore production. One can simply taste a liquid test, because this preparation of cast agar is a bit tedious. One can simply add these organism, the broth, the organism can be grown into the broth, and that broth suspension can be added into the this Cas solution. So equal amount of Cas solution, if added with the equal amount of broth, and if the organism has produced siderophore in the broth, the siderophores from broth will remove this iron and will change the color of this Cas solution into orange or into red wine color. This is the screening for another type of antifungal metabolite, excuse me, that is hydrogen cyanide. So if an organism is producing this part is control. Here the King's medium is there. If and this strip is soaked into the picryl chloride. If the organism is producing hydrogen cyanide, it will change the color of this strip into the red one or into the yellow one. And this is the screening for checking the production of chitinase enzyme. So this is the minimal medium where the chitin is the only source of carbon, only source for the growth of organism. So if organism is inoculated, we have inoculated 4 organisms here, and if the organism is producing chitinase, it will, you can see, it will hydrolyze the chitin, it will utilize the chitin, and it will appear in the hydrolysis, zone of hydrolysis of chitin. So this hydrolysis of chitin indicates the production of chitinase by the organism. And then from these various isolates, you can select the organism which is producing a bigger zone of chitinolysis, and then you can use that organism as a potent organism having chitinolytic activity or chitinase activity. The another biocontrol trait is the production of protease enzyme. So if the organisms are screened on the skimmed milk agar, these organisms, if they are producing protease, they will hydrolyze the protein. See, this medium, it is rich in the protein, and if the organism is producing protease, they will bring about the hydrolysis of protein. So you can see this organism 34 has not produced any protease, while these organisms 57, 40, 39, 96, 97, and these organisms have produced good amount of protease and has hydrolyzed good amount of proteins from the this skim milk agar. And this is the activity of cellulase enzyme. So it is on the carboxymethyl cellulose. This minimal medium is added with the carboxymethyl cellulose. If the organism is producing this cellulase enzyme, it will result in the hydrolysis of carboxymethyl cellulose, and it will result in the change in the color of this CMC agar. So what is the actual action of these enzymes? This chitinase enzyme will bring down or will break down the beta-1,4 linkage in the N-acetyl glucosamine, because this chitin is made up of it's a polymer. It is made up of various units of N-acetyl glucosamine, and these all units are held together by beta-1,4 linkage. So if the chitinase enzyme is produced by organism, this chitinase will break this beta-1,4 linkage in the N-acetyl glucosamine of chitin, which is one of the principal component of fungal cell wall. So if the fungal pathogen is there, this organism will produce chitinase, and this chitinase will break down this beta-1,4 linkage, or will break down the cell wall of organism. And this is the paper we have published in Indian Journal of Experimental Biology on this work. So what is the action of cellulase? The cellulase will again have the same action, will bring the breaking in the beta-1,4 linkage of N-acetyl glucosamine of cellulose molecule. Cellulose is also one of the components of cell wall of fungal pathogen. And this is the action of protease. Protease enzyme produced by PGPR will break the peptide bond. So if the peptide bond is broken, the protein fragments will be separated and there will be damage to the cell wall of fungal pathogen. This work we have published in the Environmental Sustainability. Now then, how to remove the heavy metal ions? This PGPR, they are responsible for the production of various hydrolytic enzymes. And as I mentioned earlier in my beginning, in the beginning of my presentation, that these organisms are useful for the removal of heavy metal ions. So how these organisms will remove the heavy metal ions? These organism produces a wide variety of siderophores, and these siderophores will chelate the heavy metals from the soil. So how to screen this heavy metal chelating microorganisms? So this is a copper agar, copper cas agar. The earlier if you grow these organisms, this blue color is the color of cas agar. If you grow these organisms on this cas agar, this organism will produce hydrophore, and this hydrophore will remove the copper from this cas agar, and removal of copper from the cas agar will result in the change in the color of this agar. The cas agar, where the hydrophore has been produced and copper has been chelated, will turn into the orange color. So this work we have again published in Environmental Sustainability. So we have developed a new method of detecting and estimating the siderophores which are having the affinity for metal ions other than Fe. Generally, siderophores are known to have more affinity for the iron, but the siderophores can have affinity for other metal ions, and this we have worked out for various heavy metal ions. So then what one has to do after having confirmed the biocontrol potential of this organism, one can go for the polyphasic identification of the potent strains. The strains which are producing good amount of siderophores, the strains which are producing good amount of hydrogen cyanide, the strains which are producing multiple enzymes, and that too in the good amount. These strains can be used for the can be identified by polyphasic approach, that is use of BILOG, use of GC-FEM analysis, MALDI-TOF, and 16 sRNA sequencing. In the BILOG, one can observe the oxidation pattern of various nutrients, and one can compare the metabolic potential of organism. And in the GC-FEM analysis, one can identify the fatty acid methyl esters in the cell wall of organism, and one can compare with this compare their fatty acid methyl ester with the uh, standard library, and one can identify. One can also identify the proteins through the MALDI-TOF and nucleotide sequences through the 16 sRNA sequencing. So these are the few advanced methods. Traditionally, identification of microorganism is basically done either on the basis of cultural characteristics, biochemical characteristics, or you can say the colony characteristics, or on the basis of enzyme production. All these isolates were then submitted to the gene bank. They were deposited under a particular name and under a particular extraction number. So we have identified almost more than 36 isolates from the different soils, and all these organisms have been deposited, and they have been assigned a particular accession number. And we have worked on the Pseudomonas, Alkaligenes faecalis, Enterobacter, Mycobacterium, Stenotrophomonas, Pseudomonas, then various types of bacilli, Penibacilli, and various other organisms. Now, how to produce hydrophore? This hydrophore production can be done by growing the organism in the succinic acid medium. This succinic acid medium is a medium which is free of iron. See, this hydrophore production, it requires iron-free conditions, and succinic acid medium it will change to the yellow, but if it is Pseudomonas, it will change to the green, fluorescent green color due to the red if it is Pseudomonas fulvida. And then how to confirm? This is the preliminary test. The change in the color of broth is itself indication that hydrophore have been produced. But for the confirmation, one can go for Cass shuttle assay, where the broth solution, then if it is added with the broth solution, and if the broth is rich in this hydrophore, it will change the blue color of this Cass solution into golden yellow color, and this is the confirmation that the organism has produced hydrophore. This hydrophore rich broth will result in the chelation of iron from this Cass solution and will change the color of Cass solution to the golden yellow color. Then one can go for optimization of process, because see, the organism, they resides in the soil, and if you take them into the laboratory, you need to optimize the protocol. The protocol need to be optimized in order to get the maximum amount of any metabolite, any product. Here we optimize the process for the production of hydrophore. So we traditionally optimize the protocol for hydrophore production by one factor approach, and then we went for the statistical optimization by Plackett-Berman design, by response surface methodology, and this work was published in 3 Biotech. And these traditional optimization, it is tedious, it is laborious, because you have to optimize a factor one after another. But in the statistical design, you can optimize all the factors at a time, and you can choose the best factor, and that best factor can be then can be selected, and accordingly the media can be prepared to get the production of any metabolite in the higher amount. So the another important thing is that if you are producing the any metabolite in the laboratory, you need a mineral water or you need a distilled water. Getting distilled water is itself a costly approach, is a costly matter. And if your organism is producing any metabolite in the tap water, it is going to make the process very economic. So our hydrophores in the tap water, so it bypass the need of using distilled water or mineral water. And they required, all the organisms required succinic acid for hydrophore production, and they were able to produce hydrophore and simultaneously chelate the metal ions like copper, cobalt, magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate, zinc chloride, zinc sulfate, barium, cadmium, lead, and aluminium. And besides this, there were other metals also which were chelated by these organisms. The work was published in these 2 journals, Indian Journal of Biotechnology and Indian Journal of Microbiology. Then the process which you optimize at the shake flask level in the laboratory has to be scaled up to the bioreactor. And there again, you have to optimize the various parameters for the optimum production, because conditions at the shake flask are different. They are not fully controlled, and the conditions at the laboratory scale bioreactors are fully controlled. So we scaled up this process to laboratory scale bioreactor, 5 liter capacity laboratory bioreactor, and this is the process where we use the Pseudomonas to produce siderophore. And see, you can see the green color is due to the type of siderophore pigmentation produced by Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And this process was optimized on the indigenous bioreactor, which was procured from Mysore. It was Indian made, and this is the scale up of the process of siderophore production by Alkaligenes faecalis, and this process was scaled up on the imported bioreactor. By column chromatography. And here the process was very innovative, very simple one. Instead of going for very costly columns, we simply took a burette, and that burette was loaded with the Amberlite XRD resins. Broth rich in the siderophore was passed through this column with the help of intravenous fluid bottle. The broth was taken into the intravenous fluid bottle, and you know that there is a control on the intravenous fluid. Through that flow rate, the concentrated supernatant was passed through this XRD Amberlite, and we were able to get two types of siderophores. You can see this brown color powder is of siderophore. So there were two types of siderophores produced by this Alkaligenes faecalis. One was a hydroxamate type of siderophore, and another one was catacolate type of siderophore. So the hydroxamate siderophore was produced in major amount, and we reported a very higher yield of the siderophore. This was the first time the higher yield of siderophore was reported from any PGPR, and this paper was published in Bioresource Technology. Then we used the siderophore-rich broth in the bioremediation of heavy metal ions. We compared the removal of these heavy metal ions with the chemical chelators. We used two types of chemical chelators, citric acid and EDTA, and we found that citric acid was able to chelate 72% of the heavy metal ions, while EDTA was capable of removing 82% of the metal ions which were artificially added into the test soil in the pot. And when we used the siderophore-rich broth, we found that this siderophore-rich broth was capable of removing 99.52 and 99.76% of zinc heavy metals from the test pot soil where the zinc chloride was sprinkled. Then we went for the production of various types of hydrolytic enzymes. We took the alkaline proteases. We began with the alkaline proteases. We used Bacillus species. This was one of the potent organisms which produced higher amount of alkaline proteases. And we observed that this organism produced this protease in alkaline pH, under alkaline pH up to 13 value, and therefore we consider this organism. We enzyme was thermostable. It was capable of withstanding a high temperature between 40 to 80 degrees centigrade, and uh, its activity was maximum at 60 degrees centigrade. So this organism, or the organism producing this bacillus producing alkaline protease, can be used in the soil where the temperature is very high, and it has a broad pH range for the activity, range from 8 to 11. Its protocol was optimized by response surface methodology, and this statistical optimization resulted in 10.86% further increase in the activity of alkaline proteases. We tested the biocontrol activity of this uh, organism against the fungal pathogens. We used these six types of fungal pathogens: Aspergillus niger, which is known to cause crown rot and collar rot in the groundnut; Aspergillus flavus, which is responsible for causing aflatoxin production in the groundnut and afla root disease; Fusarium oxysporum, which is responsible for causing wilt disease in wheat and other types of crops; Alternaria alternata, which is responsible for causing diseases in cottons and legumes; Cercospora arachidicola, which is responsible for causing leaf spot disease in groundnut particularly; and Metarhizobium anisophili, which is a pathogen of banana. So we tested the antifungal activity of the siderophore and protease preparation, and these uh, results were published in Indian Journal of Microbiology and in Indian Journal of Experimental Biology. So we tested the antifungal activity of the Alkaligenes faecalis and Bacillus, and we used three types of preparations: the whole broth without centrifugation, the broth after centrifugation, that is supernatant, and the supernatant pass through the XAD columns, that is purified siderophores. And we found that the activity of all the preparations, that is purified siderophore, siderophore rich broth, supernatant, all these three preparations were capable of inhibiting the growth of fungal pathogens. But the broth preparation was having more antifungal potential, more antifungal activity. This indicates that the antifungal potential is not only due to the siderophores, but it is also due to some other elements, maybe some other antibiotics or maybe some other antifungal metabolites which are present in the broth. So broth was having more antifungal activity, and since broth was having more antifungal activity, it was very economical because no need to go for centrifugation, no need to go for purification. So this crude broth was capable of giving excellent results against the all fungal pathogens. This work was published in Current Microbiology. So these are the results, how the supernatant and broth. This is the result against Aspergillus niger. This is the plate where the supernatant was added. This is the plate where the broth was added, and this is the plate where the synthetic or chemical fungicides like kitazine and tilt. These fungicides were organophosphorus fungicides, or they were chlorine-based fungicides. So we compare the antifungal activity of our preparations along with the chemical fungicides. So this is the antifungal activity of supernatant, broth, synthetic fungicides, kitazine and tilt against the Aspergillus flavus. This is the antifungal activity of against Cercospora arachidicola, and then we went for the detection of hydrolytic enzymes, and we found that the among all the isolates, 6 isolates produced chitinase enzyme, 24 isolates produced cellulase enzyme, and 22 isolates were positive for proteases. So, and we published this role of these hydrolytic enzymes of PGPR in crop protection in the Cell Science report. And we, similar to the evaluation of antifungal activity of Pseudophore preparation, it was the antifungal activity against fungal pathogens with the Pseudophore preparations, and then we went to evaluate the antifungal activity of PGPR, which are producing various types of hydrolytic enzymes, and we found that here again the broth preparation was having more antifungal activity against all the types of fungi, and the chemical fungicides in some cases they were having more activity. Tilt was having more antifungal activity, but the ketazine, if you compare the antifungal activity of this ketazine with the broth preparations which are rich in the hydrolytic enzymes, the activity of these hydrolytic preparations was comparatively more than the activity of this chemical pesticide. So these are the results of hydrolytic activity with the supernatant rich in the chitinase enzyme, broth rich in the chitinase enzyme, and its comparison with the ketazine and tilt. This is with the supernatant against Alternaria alternata, against Aspergillus flavus, against Cercospora arachidicola, and we claim that these organisms are having more biocontrol potential over the chemical organophosphorus fungicides. Then we went for making different formulations. We use the cholinite, alginate, bentonite, and lactose as a carrier of these PGPR preparations, and we also tested the shelf life of these carriers. The lactose-based carriers was having more shelf life, and it was capable of retaining the initial count even at room temperature as well as under low temperature conditions. So this is at 4 degrees centigrade. The shelf life of organism was retained, and this was at room temperature, that is 28 degrees centigrade. Then we went to compare the compatibility of these preparations with the chemical fungicides like Alica, Oberon, Edma, and Lanet. These all are the chemical fungicides or insecticides, and we found that these organisms, Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Stenotrophomonas, they were 100% compatible with these insecticide. With all these insecticides, they were 100 to 75% compatible with these fungicides or with this insecticide. It means that even if this organism is added in the soil where a chemical fungicide or insecticide has already been sprayed, these organisms will not be affected. They will survive because they can withstand these insecticides. So they were compatible. They were compatible with these chemical fungicides. We also checked their compatibility with the chemical fertilizers, and we found that these preparations were compatible with the ammonium sulfate, with the potash, with the urea, and with the NPK fertilizer. So all these three preparations were having compatibility, that is, they can provide potash, they can provide nitrogen, they can provide phosphorus, they can provide potash. Then we went for evaluating their plant growth promoting potential, and we found that the inoculation of this PGPR, it increases seed germination by 29%, It increases root length by 30%. It increases shoot length by 24%. It increases plant height by 29%. It increases vigor index by 66% and chlorophyll content of the leaf with 31%. We tested this with the groundnut plant in the pot. And if you see the application of this PGPR, this is the infected plant without PGPR, and this is the infected plant with application of PGPR. So we went for the sick pot assay where this plant was artificially infected with the Cercospora, and then another plant where so we took two pots. One pot was sick pot, and this sick pot was without any PGPR, while this sick pot was added with the Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So we found that this Pseudomonas aeruginosa was capable of promoting the growth of plant as well as it was capable of inhibiting the growth of pathogen. You can see the visible difference. There are spots, there are leaf spots on this sick plant, whereas this sick plant, which is treated with the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, is having more chlorophyll and no leaf spots. It means that this Pseudomonas aeruginosa has not only inhibited the growth of phytopathogen, but it has also promoted the chlorophyll content of the plant and has helped the plant in the good growth and good vigor. And this is the earlier one was the pot assay, and this is the
Wait, I think the speaker got disconnected. Just a second. Please start, sir. Unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself.
From where I have to start? From where I was disconnected? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. From which slide I was disconnected? Somebody can tell me?
नहीं मतलब
कहाँ से डिस्कनेक्ट हुआ था? बता सकते हैं आप?
सिक प्लांट और ग्राउंडनट का डिस्कशन चल रहा था सर, पीजीपीआर एप्लीकेशन।
This one?
ग्राउंडनट जो आपने ग्रो किए थे और उसमें क्या
Yeah.
इफेक्ट आया था उसके बारे में जो स्टडी कर रहे थे ना, वहीं से
जी
स्टार्ट
जी
करना।
जी
sick plant and donor.
Acha, that one. Yeah, this one I think.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what we did,
Yes, sir.
with the groundnut plant, we infected this groundnut plant. This was the pot assay. We infected it with the Cercospora arachidicula, and in the another pot we added the Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So we took two pots. Both the pots were infected. This was without adding the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and this was after the addition of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So you can see that this is the sick pot, this is the sick plant which has not received the application of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and this is the groundnut plant which has received the application of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. You can clearly see that this plant is looking more healthy as compared to this one. It is due to the inhibition of Cercospora arachidicula, which was responsible of causing this leaf spot disease. In addition, this organism has promoted the growth of plant. More chlorophyll was produced. You can see that this healthy plant is looking more greener as compared to the sick plant. So this plant without application of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and this is the plant where the PGPR treatment, Pseudomonas aeruginosa treatment was made. So this was regarding the inhibition of growth of fungal pathogens under in vivo condition, and this is the plant growth promotion studies with the groundnut. So this field was not applied with the broth culture of PGPR, and this field was applied with the broth culture of PGPR. You can see that this field without chemical, but with the application of PGPR is having more density, more growth of plant, more number of pots, and more number of, you can say, leaf and other parameters. So it is clearly visible that the application of this PGPR will promote the growth of plant, will increase the yield of plant. Then the another aspect, important aspect of any organism which you are applying into the soil is its ability to colonize the host plant, because most of the rhizobia, most of the inoculants which are applied in the soil, they fail to colonize the roots. So it is important to check whether your organism, inoculated organism, is capable of making association. And we found that our all organisms were capable of having good root colonizing ability, and they were also friendly to
Sir,
the...
resume. Sir, please
Yeah.
resume presentation, because somebody took over presentation. Please resume presentation.
Again disconnected?
No, the presentation got taken over by somebody. Do you see at the present now? Resume presenting.
Look, I cannot see.
Do you see the option at the bottom present now?
Yeah, again, window.
Click again and try to present again.
Is it? Hello, can the participants see the slides?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. We can see.
You can see. Yeah, thank you. So one has to check whether the organism is capable of associating with the host plant or not. So you need to check the colony forming units or the number of cells of the inoculated organisms from the soil. The another important thing is you have to ensure that the organism which you added into the soil is not going to harm the useful soil organisms which are already present there in the soil. Say for example, Azotobacter, Rhizobium, and Bacilli and other various actinomycetes and other useful organisms are there. They should not be inhibited by our inoculant. So we tested the safety of these inoculant against Azotobacter, Rhizobium, and Bacilli, and we found that our all three isolates did not inhibit the growth of any of the organism, that is Rhizobium, Azotobacter, and Bacilli. So this was tested in the laboratory. This was plate assay, and this was from the soil. The another important aspect of these organisms was that these organisms were capable of utilizing the heterologous siderophores. Heterologous siderophores are the siderophores which are produced by other soil organisms. So if your organism is fetching or grabbing the siderophores of other organisms, its potential is certainly going to be manifold. Your organism is becoming more powerful, more plant growth promoting, because it will be having its own siderophore as well as the siderophores which are taken up from the other organisms. So we isolated almost more than 52 isolates, positive for chitinase, positive for protease, positive for cellulase, positive for hydrogen cyanide, positive for siderophores, and various other metabolites. Among all these, Pseudomonas aeruginosa was one of the potent organism capable of producing chitinase. It inhibited the growth of various fungal pathogens, and its antifungal potential was superior than the chemical pesticides. We also tested the antifungal potential of Alkaligenes faecalis, and we found that this Alkaligenes faecalis was again more powerful, more superior against all fungi, and it was superior as compared to all chemical fungicides. Besides, it promoted the growth of plants. In addition, it removed the various heavy metal ions from the soil, and it was biocompatible with the various chemical pesticides, with various chemical fertilizers. It means that this organism can be used this organism can be used along with the chemical pesticides or chemical fertilizers. It has better root colonizing ability, and thus it can be a very good bioinoculant as it can survive under the abiotic stress conditions like presence of heavy metal ions, presence of pesticides, presence of chemical fertilizers. So it's going to be very good inoculum. Then we went to check its bioefficacy, and we found that the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, RZS8 and RZS9, both were capable of promoting the plant growth. We tested their plant growth promoting potential in groundnut, wheat, and other crops, and we found that these organisms alone were capable of promoting the growth of test plants, but their consortium was better, was having better plant growth promoting potential and better biocontrol potential. And these better plant growth promotion or biocontrol may be due to the production of some other metabolites besides the siderophores. So they are good colonizers, they are friendly to the useful soil rhizobia, they are having better agrocompatibility, they are having good shelf life, they can be stored at room temperature for almost 180 days, they are eco-friendly bioinoculants for sustainable agriculture. These are some of the research publications, and this is the aerial view of my institute. Now, I would like to tell you something on what type of research one can undertake. See, this PGPR field is a very vast field. One can go for screening of rhizobacteria from soil, from a particular crop, or from particular soil. You can simply screen this organism. You can check this organism, whether this organism is promoting the growth of plant or not in the pot assay. In the plate assay, you can check whether the organism is inhibiting the growth of fungus or not. So you can screen. A project can be on the screening of plant growth promoting rhizobia from a particular soil or from a particular plant, and evaluation of its plant growth promotion. You can choose any specific plant, and its antifungal potential. You can choose any specific disease, or you can choose any specific fungal pathogen, or you can choose a group of fungal pathogens. The another aspect can be another project can be on the screening of plant growth promoting rhizobacteria producing various phytohormones. You can screen the rhizobacteria from soil. You can test them for the production of indole acetic acid, for the production of gibberellic acid. You can test them for the SCC deaminase, and then you can go for the optimization of production of these phytohormones. So you can have a project on the phytohormones. You can have the project on the screening of phosphate solubilizing microorganisms. You can have the project on the screening of siderophore producing organism. You can have the project on the screening of excuse me, screening of potash solubilizing organism and screening of sulfur solubilizing organism. You can go for screening, or you can go for a project on screening of rhizobacteria for production of biocontrol traits. You can have a separate project on the production, optimization and application of hydrogen cyanide, production, optimization and application of siderophore, production, optimization of a particular enzyme or group of hydrolytic enzymes like protease, cellulase, chitinase, and other enzymes. You can go for the screening of PGPR for the production of antioxidant enzymes, because these antioxidant enzymes help the plant to stay under the adverse conditions like drought, salinity, alkalinity, acidity, or heavy metals, or presence of pathogens. So if you go for the screening of PGPR having antioxidant enzyme, you can go for the screening of catalase producing organism. You can have the screening for oxidase producing organism. You can have the screening for glutathione producing organisms, and you can have a coordinated project or group project on the diversity of PGPR from different agroclimatic zones, and you can have a project on the crop microbiome.
जो ऑनलाइन क्लास दे रहे हैं इनका भी बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूं क्योंकि मैंने बहुत मेहनत की है और तुम्हारे बच्चे हैं.
So that's all from my end. Thank you very much.
मैं भी हालत में भी टीचर हूं तो लेकिन हुआ तब
That's all from my end. Thanks.
मैनेजमेंट बॉडी
One by one, please ask questions. If anyone has questions, please ask one by one.
हेलो सर.
जी आपकी आवाज कट रही है. आप स्पीकर पे तो नहीं है?
हमारी आवाज है
बिल्कुल ठीक आ रही है सर.
हाँ सर, लेकिन एक चीज जो आपने क्विज प्रोग्राम किया इसके बारे में सेटिस्फाई नहीं हुआ सर. मैं कुछ सजेशन आपसे मतलब कहना बोल रहा हूँ, लेकिन वो खराब की मर्जी आप क्या करें. लेकिन
बिल्कुल वी आर ऑलवेज रेडी.
चंद बच्चे सिर्फ 5 या 10, क्योंकि मैं पूरा देख रहा था, 10 क्वेश्चन पूछे गए लेकिन कोई बच्चा नेगलेक्ट हुआ. तो इसका क्योंकि मतलब बच्चे कह रहे थे कि हमें ये चीजें पता है लेकिन हमें मौका क्यों नहीं दिया जा रहा, क्योंकि मतलब टीचर्स के कुछ बच्चे फैक्ट या मतलब इनके नाम इनको याद है लेकिन बाकी जो
Hello.
Yeah, I don't think the voice is audible. Can anyone else ask question, because the question was not audible?
Your voice was not audible. Question was not audible. I was not able to get his question.
Please, somebody else has a question, please ask.
Hello, sir. PGPR has any role for pest management and insect management? Any role has that?
Yes.
Hello.
These PGPR, they are responsible of inhibiting the pest also.
उसको क्या होता है। मुझे आ रहा है Redmi
How, sir?
1, Samsung,
How it is acting on
They are
Xiaomi
responsible.
1, फोन का नाम आ रहा है,
the-
स्टूडेंट का नाम नहीं आ रहा। और बहुत सारे हमारे जो फॉर्म टीचर्स है, फॉर एन एग्जांपल अरीस फयाज के जो फॉर्म टीचर है, वो उनका नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम था, किसी वजह से वो जूम मीटिंग में नहीं आ पाए आज। और बाकी जो सारे टीचर्स
Hello?
हैं उन्हें Redmi
tell me, sir.
जी नाम से
Yeah.
नहीं
Sir,
This
I think Aziz Ahmed Dhar is, sir, creating problem. Aziz Ahmed Dhar, please turn off your video.
Has
Hello, sir.
been muted.
Tell me,
Please,
sir.
please ask question.
Okay,
yeah,
sir, tell me.
this PGPR, they are responsible of inhibiting the growth of pest also. See, they produce some toxic metabolites like hydrogen cyanide. So hydrogen cyanide itself is going to inhibit the growth of pest. One thing. Another thing is that this PGPR, they will remove the iron from the environment wherever the pest is there. So if iron is removed, that iron will not be available to the pest. And you know that iron is important element in the metabolism of organism. So due to deficiency of this iron, that growth of pest will also be inhibited.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes, please.
Hello. Sir, your lecture was very nice, sir. I'm Dr. Pooja, working as scientist in Sugarcane Breeding Institute, sir. Sir, my question
Thank
is
you very
that
much.
is PGPR is effective in sugarcane crop under drought, salinity? Do you have any idea, sir, about this under drought
Yes, yes.
and?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
we have tested the PGPR under salinity condition,
Yes, sir.
and we have found
In
that our
sugarcane.
Enterobacter cloacae, it is capable of producing
Yes.
exopolysaccharide. I did not mention there somewhere in my
Exopoly-
presentation. I skipped it. So that exopolysaccharide EPS is produced by this Enterobacter species, and that EPS help in retaining the moisture, help in retaining the water, so that the drought stress is minimized.
Sir, do you have
Well-
analyzed in sugarcane?
Yeah, we are tested in sugarcane also.
Okay, and sir,
What
about
tested
that disease smut and pest shoot borer like that, is that effective, sir?
Yeah, it is effective against all pests. We are tested against all pests, almost pest of all crops.
Pest and-
We are tested in
and-
soybean. We are tested in
Yes.
wheat. We are tested in rice. We are tested in millets. We are tested in cash crops like groundnut. We are tested in the medicinal plants. We are tested in the sugarcane as well.
Sir, I want to ask one more thing, sir. Sir, what will be
Yeah,
the dose, appropriate dose for sugarcane, and what should be the appropriate time for application?
See, we use these organism in the liquid form,
Liquid.
and the
Okay.
dose was, yeah, liquid preparation. And to your surprise, you'll be surprised to know that it required only 5 rupees per liter. The total production cost of this PGPR preparation was 5 rupees per liter. And this 1 liter preparation was effective even if it was diluted 10 times. So one can dilute this to 10 liter, and per acre we used 10 liter of this preparation.
And
This we used in the
mode of
groundnut.
application in soil
Mode of application is through the water only, is through the irrigation.
water. Through
Yeah.
irrigation. Okay,
Is
sir.
through the
Sir,
through the
what-
irrigation, as well as we have applied the seed applications. But you know,
Okay, sir.
seed
Sir.
application is again going to be something difficult process, because you have to coat it seed, you have to dry.
It is not feasible, sir.
Hello?
In sugarcane, it is not feasible to have, sir.
In sugarcane, it is better to go for this
Yes, sir.
along with the irrigation, because it is very
Along with irrigation.
yeah, it is
Okay,
simple
sir.
one.
And sir, stage for irrigation, sir, like the sugarcane is having so many stages of growth. So, sir, at which stage we have to apply, sir?
You have to apply 3 times during the sowing,
Showing, हाँ जी sir.
Yeah. And
Yes, sir.
in between and at the end,
In between.
3 applications. Yeah. Even 2
Okay, sir.
applications are
And-
sufficient.
Okay, sir. 2 application. Sir, is there any particular brand for this?
They are available in different names.
Sir,
They are
yes, sir. Different.
Yeah, they are available, but different formulations are there. Many manufacturers, many companies have their own names. There are many manufacturers
Sir,
in.
which is the best? Sir, because you have tried. Sir, which is the best?
In our study, we found alkaligenes as the best one.
Alkaligenes.
Yeah, alkaligenes faecalis is the best one. It produces antifungal metabolites. It produces plant growth promoting metabolites. It produces exopolysaccharides, and it also produces or accumulates the polyhydroxybutyrate, so that this organism can survive even in absence of nutrients.
Okay, sir.
So there
Okay, sir.
are so many
Thank you.
diverse aspects of this organism.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And sir, regarding compatibility, whether
Yeah.
all PGPR are compatible with sir Trichoderma viridi and EPA.
Hello.
They're compatible. Such types of.
Can you speak? Can you speak loudly? I am not. You are not audible. Can you speak loudly?
Of PGPR with the entomopathogenic nematode as well as Trichoderma.
Compatibility of PGPR with Trichoderma.
Trichoderma.
Trichoderma and.
Sir, I am telling about compatibility.
Yeah, we have checked its compatibility. Yeah, we have checked its compatibility with the Trichoderma only.
PGPR
And it's compatible.
with entomopathogenic
Yeah, with Trichoderma.
as well as that
With
Trichoderma. Whether compatible.
We have checked with the Trichoderma only. Yeah, it is compatible with the Trichoderma. We have checked with the Trichoderma only.
Entomopathogenic nematode. EPN, sir, EPN.
No, we have
Entomopathogenic
not.
nematode.
Yeah, we have not checked.
That is also present.
We have not checked. Yeah, right. We have not checked against the nematodes.
Okay.
We have checked with the Trichoderma and it is compatible with the Trichoderma.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All the participants, you can have my email address. It is over there in the presentation.
Any other question, guys? Any other question?
Sir, they have any action against sir commonly phytonematode? They can act. Any sir?
Hello.
Any effect on phytonematodes? General nematode.
No, we have not checked its effect on the phytonematodes. They can. Nematodes can kill what?
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar ji.
Sir, मैं Dr. Jitendra Yadav from Haryana.
जी sir.
Actually, any
sir.
PGPR for improving the crop condition in dry land situations, limited water supply situation.
Yeah,
that can improve the water use efficiency.
I mentioned, Dr. Pooja, that there are PGPR which can produce exopolysaccharides, EPS. So these exopolysaccharide producing organisms are best suited for the drought areas. They will retain the moisture of the root.
They can be used in any crop.
Yeah, they can be used in any crop.
Okay.
The PGPR which produces exopolysaccharide, like alkaligenes faecalis is there, azotobacter is there, rhizobium is there. All these organisms, they produce exopolysaccharide EPS, and this EPS is useful for the crops growing under drought conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions, please? All the audience, you can note my email address and my mobile number. Yes, please.
How to control the shoot borer and root grub in sugarcane biological, sir?
It is with the help of PGPR, which are capable of producing hydrogen cyanides. These hydrogen cyanide producing PGPR, they will inhibit all types of borers.
Yes, sir.
If you add this SCN producing PGPR, they will produce SCN,
yes, sir.
and this SCN will inhibit the growth of all borers. Okay?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Where these
yes, please.
PGPR containing HCNs are available, sir, locally?
They are available under different trade names by different suppliers.
Okay, sir.
Where are you located?
I am from Karnataka, sir.
Where are you located?
Karnataka, sir.
Belgavi. You can, you can have it from Shimoga University. You can have it from Belgaum University. You can have it from Mysore University. There are researchers working on this PGPR.
Okay, okay, sir. Whether it is available with the agriculture universities or Raita Samparka
Yes, it is available.
Okay, sir.
It is available with the agriculture universities.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the information, sir.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Sir, myself Jignesh Kumar Patel. I am working on potato crop. From last 2 years, I am using potash mobilizing bacteria for seed treatment of potato. And I am not getting a very significant result of potash mobilizing bacteria. Sir, suppose I want to check the potash mobilizing bacteria quality. So can I check? Is it true potash mobilizing bacteria or?
Yes.
How to check, sir?
Simply, you can check the efficiency of that bacteria in the laboratory. If that organism is solubilizing good amount of potash, then you can use it in the field. If it is not solubilizing good amount of potash, it means that it is poor solubilizer. That may be the one reason. Another reason may be, as I mentioned, that organism might be failing somewhere in establishing itself in the soil.
Okay.
Because after adding that organism in the soil, it should be capable of growing in the soil. It should not be affected by the other competing organism.
Okay.
If it is affected by other competing organisms or other factors, it's going to hinder, it's going to harm, it's going to affect its potash solubilizing performance.
Sir, seed treatment is better or soil application?
The base treatment which we tested is the irrigation. You simply leave the broth of your organism with the water.
Okay, sir.
When watering the plant, along with the watering, you add the broth culture. It is the simple, best way and very cost-effective way.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Any other question, guys? If there are no questions, we can stop the session. Sir, I would like
Thank you
to
very much, Mr. Majid.
thank you, sir. I would like to thank on behalf of NADCL and all the participants for enlightening us with these wise session. Thank you very much on all our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, you can leave
Bye.
the call by dropping the call. You have a leave icon at the bottom of the page. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Bye.